brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Octavia E. Butler. Octavia Estelle Butler was an American science fiction writer, a multiple recipient of both the Hugo and Nebula awards. In 1995 she became the first science fiction writer to receive the MacArthur Fellowship, nicknamed the Genius Grant. Early life. Octavia Estelle Butler was born on June 22, 1947, in Pasadena, California. The only child of Octavia Margaret Guy, a housemaid, and Lawrence James Butler, a shoeshine man. Butler's father died when she was 7, so Octavia was raised by her mother and maternal grandmother in what she would later recall as a strict Baptist environment. Growing up in the racially integrated community of Pasadena allowed Butler to experience cultural and ethnic diversity in the midst of racial segregation. She accompanied her mother to her cleaning work and witnessed her entering white people's houses through back doors. Her mother was treated poorly by her employers from an early age. An almost paralyzing shyness made it difficult for Butler to socialize with other children. Her awkwardness, paired with a slight dyslexia that made schoolwork a torment, led her to believe that she was ugly and stupid, clumsy, and socially hopeless, becoming an easy target for bullies. As a result, she frequently passed the time reading at the Pasadena Central Library and writing reams and reams of pages in her big pink notebook. Hooked at first on fairy tales and horse stories, she quickly became interested in science fiction magazines such as Amazing Stories, Galaxy Science Fiction, and the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, and began reading stories by John Brunner, Zena Henderson, and Theodore Sturgeon. At age 10, she begged her mother to buy her a Remington typewriter on which she pecked her stories two-fingered. At 12, watching the televised version of the film Devil Girl from Mars convinced her she could write a better story, so she drafted what would later become the basis for her Patterns novels. Happily ignorant of the obstacles that a black female writer could encounter, she became unsure of herself for the first time at the age of 13, when her well-intentioned Aunt Hazel conveyed the realities of segregation in 5 words. "Honey, Negroes can't be writers." Nevertheless, Butler persevered in her desire to publish a story, even asking her junior high school science teacher, Mr. Pfaff, to type the first manuscripts she submitted to a science fiction magazine. After graduating from John Muir High School in 1965, Butler worked during the day and attended Pasadena City College at night. As a freshman at PCC, she won a college-wide short story contest, earning her first income as a writer. She also got the germ of the idea for what would become her novel Kindred, when a young African-American classmate involved in the Black Power movement loudly criticized previous generations of African Americans for being subservient to whites. As she explained in later interviews, the young man's remarks instigated her to respond with a story that would give historical context to that shameful subservience so that it could be understood as silent but courageous survival. In 1968, Butler graduated from PCC with an Associate of Arts degree with the focus in history. Rise to success. Even though Butler's mother wanted her to become a secretary with a steady income, Butler continued to work at a series of temporary jobs, preferring the kind of mindless work that would allow her to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning to write. Success continued to elude her, as an absence of useful criticism led her to style her stories after the white and male-dominated science fiction she had grown up reading. She enrolled at California State University, Los Angeles, but then switched to taking writing courses through UCLA Extension. During the Open Door Workshop of the Screenwriters Guild of America, West, a program designed to mentor minority writers, her writing impressed one of the teachers, noted science fiction writer Harlan Ellison. He encouraged her to attend the 6-week Clarion Science Fiction Writers' Workshop in Clarion, Pennsylvania. There, Butler met the writer and later longtime friend Samuel R. Delany. She also sold her first stories, Childfinder, to Ellison for his anthology The Last Dangerous Visions, and Crossover to Robin Scott Wilson, the director of Clarion, who published it in the 1971 Clarion anthology. For the next 5 years, Butler worked on the series of novels that later become known as the Patternist series: Pattern Master, Mind of My Mind, and Survivor. In 1978, she was finally able to stop working at temporary jobs and live on her writing. She took a break from the Patternist series to research and write Kindred, and then finished the series with Wild Seed and Clay's Ark. Butler's rise to prominence began in 1984 when Speech Sounds won the Hugo Award for Short Story, and a year later, Bloodchild won the Hugo Award, the Locus Award, and the Science Fiction Chronicle Reader Award for Best Novelette. In the meantime, Butler traveled to the Amazon rainforest and the Andes to do research for what would become the Zen and Genesis trilogy: Dawn, Adulthood Rites, and Imago. These stories were republished in 2000 as the collection Lilith's Brood. During the 1990s, Butler worked on the novels that solidified her fame as a writer: Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents. In 1995, she became the first science fiction writer to be awarded a John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation Fellowship, an award that came with a prize of $295,000. In 1999, after her mother's death, Butler moved to Lake Forest Park, Washington. The Parable of the Talents had won the Science Fiction Writers of America's Nebula Award for Best Science Novel, and she had plans for 4 more Parable novels: Parable of the Trickster, Parable of the Teacher, Parable of Chaos, and Parable of Clay. However, after several failed attempts to begin the Parable of the Trickster, she decided to stop work in the series. In later interviews, Butler explained that the research and writing of the Parable novels had overwhelmed and depressed her, so she had shifted to composing something lightweight and fun instead. This became her last book, the science fiction vampire novel Fledgling. Thank you for watching, brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.